take that step back. We are seeing the true quarterback that he really is, which he is not a very good quarterback.
Welcome to the Man Now, where we taking over. It's time to give you them facts. Won't miss a game or two, cause we here for you and we reporting all of them stats. We coming to you live to keep you updated. Broadcast across the country, we the fan favorites. Break the volume to the max and don't nobody touch it. We crossing topics off the list, addressing every subject. So if you ain't got a clue, then you can tune in and give it 24 hours and we back again. Breaking news, new scoops, we the top dogs. From the fields to the courts, we report it all. Buzzer beaters through your speakers, we the ones to call. Trust us for the news if it's got a ball. Giving you the top stories cause we love the turf. Tell a friend to tune in and where you heard it first. Yeah, you're listening to the Man Now. We taking over, it's time to give you them stats. Yeah, you listen to the Man Now. Miss a game or two cause we reporting all of them facts. Yeah, you listen to the Man Now. We taking over, it's time to give you them facts. Turn the speakers up a little loud. Miss a game or two cause we reporting all of them stats. Cause you listen to the Man Hour.
And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Buckhouse here with the Man Hour. Be sure to head over to manhourradio.com and check out the merchandise page. As we do got the Beastie merch, we got the Man Hour original logo merch over there as well. Of course, we have the Takeaway 22 merch as well. But we have to welcome the man, the myth, the legend, the man behind of all these designs that we have, the man behind the Take 22 merch himself, Mr. Brandon Beastie Combs. What's up, Beastie?
What is going on, Buck? What is going on, Man Hour Nation? Belly Up Sports. Man, look, it's been a long damn day. But I'm going to tell you what, I got the Blackhawks on in the background. I'm going to be talking and ripping up sports with Buck for 2 hours here. It's going to be a good night.
It is. It's always a great night when the brothers are back in town, when the boys are back in town, when we are two peas and carrots, right? But before we get too great away, tell the people what Take 22 merch is all about, Combs.
So the Take 22 merch is so if anybody's ever heard of the Till Valhalla Project, it is for their cause, which is 22 veterans a day commit suicide. It's 22 too many. They draw awareness to that. If you've ever heard of it, or even if you've never heard of it, if you go to the tillvalhallaproject.com, TVP, they have shirts, they have hoodies. Hell, this is one of the hoodies I'm wearing right now. They've always got their logo on, wrong shoulder here. Always got their logo on the shoulder with the flag. But what they do is they give headstones, they give plaques, they give all sorts of stuff to veterans who have died either from suicide or who never made it home, when serving overseas and that stuff, to families that can't afford to get, give proper funerals, give proper burials, get headstones for their loved ones. It helps all of that stuff out. So if you haven't checked it out, it's a great cause. $30 a month will actually get you a free t-shirt every month. And you donate to the cause, and they'll send you a whole folder of list of people that you've helped out. Those show videos, all sorts of stuff of people getting the stuff that you've helped donate to. It's a great cause, helps the veterans, and we need to end this nasty thing of veteran suicide.
Yeah, it means 22 days or 22 Americans every day is way too many. So hopefully the profits that we make from the 22 merch and the and that $30 like a month over there for the Tallahassee Project helps really raise the PDS awareness and whatnot. So we do have some people jumping over in the chat here. We see Michelle. She said, "What's going on, guys?" I don't know, Michelle. You tell us what's going on. I mean, because she will be playing some Fortnite soon, and we had a great conversation pre-show with her. So. I mean, OnlyFans, right? OnlyFans all day, every day. No, I'm totally kidding. But guys, we do have a great show for you guys lined up here. We got the infamous Way or No Way coming up here. Brought to you by Skull Candy Original Headphones. Head over to skullcandyoriginal.com. Use promo code MANHOUR to save yourself some dollar bills. We're going to talk some Chicago Bears because you know what? They made some questionable hires, and we're going to talk about it. But we have to talk about the biggest question that arose from this weekend, Combs, and that is Mr. Patrick Mahomes himself and the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, if you guys have been living under a rock or have not been living underneath a rock, the Cincinnati Bengals did beat the Chiefs on Sunday. But Patrick Mahomes played like complete dog crap in the second half. And Combs, is Patrick Mahomes the person to blame for the loss on Sunday for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, look, he was terrible in the second half. I know last night you were talking about the play calling and all of that stuff, but to me, this isn't the play calling. This is Patrick Mahomes trying to do too much, running around till he gets sacked, running backwards, taking sacks for huge losses when you are in a game where you're up 21-3 at halftime. And this shouldn't have been the game that it was. And that, to not take the points, yes, that one is completely on Andy Reid right there before the first half when they get stopped to end the half. But that second half, man, was the worst football I've seen Patrick Mahomes play. I mean, it was dog crap. Plain and simple. It was pure dog crap is what he displayed in the second half of yesterday's game. We give whenever Aaron Rodgers flakes out in the playoffs, which he does quite often, we give him so much crap for it, right? When you look at guys like Russell Wilson who flakes out, when you look at guys like Kirk Cousins who can't win big games, you look at guys like who's another quarterback that we always saw, Baker Mayfield. We give them the crap for when they play bad. We don't tend to do that to Patrick Mahomes, though, right? Like, I don't hear anybody out there saying, "Oh, this is Patrick Mahomes was terrible yesterday. This is all about Patrick Mahomes." Patrick Mahomes, because he's a likable guy. Everybody likes Patrick Mahomes, right? He does the commercials.
For now.
He's in there. He wants to do the Patrick Price, or he takes his shoes back. Everybody thinks he's a likable guy. Everybody wants to be around him. Nobody wants to be around his brother or his fiance, but everybody wants to be around Patrick Mahomes. And so they give him a pass, and I don't hear anybody talking about it. And I think it's bullcrap because Patrick Mahomes is single-handedly the reason why they lost that game yesterday. He played all right in the first half. They were up 21-3. He was dog crap in the second half, and it is absolutely all on him that they lost that game yesterday.
So it is kind of funny to me that like you saying that nobody is out there blaming Patrick Mahomes, because I was flipping through after the morning show this morning. I was flipping through ESPN, which was a mistake, right? Because first things first, First Take is absolutely terrible. I watched about 20 minutes of it. And I sent you a text. I'm like, this is horrible. This sucks. But yeah. Stephen A. Smith and they had Michael Irvin on there, and the old quarterback from the Lions that ran out of bounds. I forget his name. Ron or
Orlovsky.
Yeah. And they were saying Patrick Mahomes is so bad, is so bad, yada yada yada. So Combs, the reason why we are not giving Patrick Mahomes crap is because this is his first bad half of football in 7 or 8 playoff games that he has played, right? This is the first bad half he has ever played. And granted, it came at the worst possible time ever. Because that stop right before halftime changed the whole momentum of the game. You saw Cincinnati go up and the Chiefs go way, way down, and they could never rebound from that. So with that being said, is the Patrick Mahomes to blame for this, Combs? Absolutely not, because the coaching staff, Andy Reid, the offensive guru that he is, Eric Bieniemy, the great head coach that he could possibly be one day, right? They are to blame because they knew Patrick Mahomes was playing bad. They knew that the Cincinnati Bengals was shutting down the passing game and they were allowing you to run the ball. You get down into the red zone here, 1.5 minutes left in the game. You were running the ball. McKinnon is getting 7-8 yards of pop, Combs. And then you want to throw the ball twice on 2nd and 3rd down and get sacked for like 28-yard losses of the combined two. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. Yes, Patrick Mahomes had happy feet. Yes, he scrambled around and lost the 27 yards total, right? Yes, he did this, and this. But he should have never been in that position because Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid should have been calling running plays that whole time. They should have been. They should have never passed the ball ever once they got inside the red zone. It was like 3 minutes left. They should have ran the ball, kept the clock clicking, run the ball to basically take the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands, not let him touch it at all, and win that game.
But their run game was not going to keep the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands. The run game was getting stuff. It did not. It didn't. They were passing the ball in the first half. And to say that this is Patrick Mahomes' first terrible half, maybe you just completely forgot that they only scored 9 points in the Super Bowl last year. So it is not the first bad half that he's had in the Super Bowl. He was like 22 of 49, and he threw 2 interceptions in the Super Bowl last year.
With like 5 injuries on the offensive line, and he had a broken toe or something.
My God. Here come the excuses, right? From a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
The facts are there, baby.
It is excuses. What are you talking about? He was 22 of 49.
Yeah, because they had to throw the ball so well against the best defense ever purchased.
So when he has to throw the ball, he's prone to make mistakes, is what you're saying.
Just like every other quarterback.
So maybe he's just
NFL.
not the quarterback. Maybe he's just not the quarterback that everybody's hyping him up to be. Everybody wants to talk about the GOAT. The fact is, they shouldn't even be there. The fact that they skated past Buffalo was luck. The pass that they skated past, but I will take Alpha Rob's side. The fact that they skated past Buffalo was lucky. And then they get into this game. They get up, and what did they do? They tried to sit on a lead, and it didn't work. Trying to sit on that lead against that team is a bad idea. It's a bad game plan. Trying to sit on any lead in the NFL right now, trying to sit on any lead in the NFL is a bad plan. Ask Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams how many games they lost this year trying to sit on a lead.
Right. So whose decision was it to sit on that lead, Combs? Coaching staff, right? How is that Patrick Mahomes' fault? Who was calling the plays?
They didn't sit on the lead. They didn't sit on the lead.
They tried.
They were trying to add to it. No, they weren't. You just said that they weren't running the ball. They were trying to add to it.
No, they were running the ball until they got into the end zone. Those final two plays.
No,
when they should have ran the ball.
Patrick Mahomes was running the ball. He was just running the ball backwards.
Come on, man. He
got to every time that somebody was on him, he would do circles and he would run 15 yards backwards and try to come back. And by that time, 5 more guys were back on him. If you don't blame Patrick Mahomes for this loss yesterday, you weren't watching the game. It was a terrible performance by Patrick Mahomes.
Okay. So I see people in the chat here saying Patrick Mahomes was trash in the Super Bowl. I'm not talking about Super Bowl. I'm talking about the playoffs, baby. Playoffs are different than the Super Bowl, right? I mean, kind of. Sort of, a little bit, Combs. Come on, back me up a little bit.
No.
no.
I don't have your back on this.
No.
You're trying to look. I got called a fanboy by some troll on Facebook today because I was defending Justin Fields and saying that because this guy was coming out saying that Justin Fields is no better than a backup quarterback in the NFL. Ass clown with no common sense whatsoever and no basis for his opinion. But I got called a fanboy because he's like. He said, Justin Fields doesn't belong in the NFL. Name me one Ohio State quarterback that was ever good. So I went out to him and I said, all right, I get your point. But if that's the case, name me one Texas Tech quarterback that's ever been good. Because Patrick Mahomes is good. Name me one Georgia quarterback that's ever taken his team to a Super Bowl. I'll wait. Matthew Stafford is the first.
Yeah.
Okay. Name me a guy out of Eastern Illinois that's been good. Jimmy G. And then you got Joe Burrow. Name me the last quarterback out of LSU that took his team to a Super Bowl. I'll wait. Joe Burrow. That's it. That's the list. So there's no quarterback in the NFL. So stop it.
Maybe USC back in like the 90s and early 2000s, right? But that's about it.
No, because they didn't even really they produced Carson Palmer is probably the best out of all that.
Carson Palmer, Jimmy G came from USC, right?
No, Jimmy G went to Eastern Illinois.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Matt Castle.
Matt Castle, maybe he did come out of USC. I can't quite remember.
He was a backup to Carson Palmer, if I'm not mistaken. No, he was backup to Matt Leinart. Yeah,
Mark Sanchez and Matt Leinart, and out of all of them, the best career was Carson Palmer.
Yeah.
None of those guys ever went to a Super Bowl.
Sorry, I laughed at Alpha Rob's comment here. He says Mahomes is running back like he was in the Techno Bowl. Yeah, get out of here with that.
He's in the Tecmo Bowl when your remote dies, right? And it just starts running around on its own.
So obviously every offseason, Combs, we have to start talking about next season and the payroll and Patrick Mahomes signed a huge contract, $500 million. So the question has to be proposed here. If the Kansas City Chiefs start habitually losing, not making it to the playoffs first round exit, can this be the reason of them losing? Is because Patrick Mahomes getting paid too much?
No, it's not going to be the reason that they lose, but it's going to be the reason why they can't retain all of their star players. Look, if Patrick Mahomes is going to be that guy, if Patrick Mahomes is going to be the quarterback that everybody believes that this guy has been through the first 4 years in his career, and I give him credit where credit's due. Look, the guy has taken his team to 4 straight AFC championships and 2 Super Bowls in 4 years.
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty tall task for a guy in his first 4 years, and he's done that. But if he's going to be that guy, he's got to be able to win. If you want to be in that same conversation of GOAT talks, like the people have stupidly been talking in his first 4 years, if you want to be in that conversation, you've got to be able to do more with less, right? You've got to be. Tom Brady made a career out of doing more with less. And if you can't win when you don't have an AFC Pro Bowl roster, then you're not that guy. And so I'm not going to say it's the reason why they can't win, because I do believe Patrick Mahomes is a very talented quarterback. I do believe Patrick Mahomes is a guy that can win with less. But he's going to be the reason why Tyreek Hill doesn't get re-signed. He's going to be the reason why Travis Kelce finishes his career somewhere other than Kansas City. And for that reason is what is going to cost Patrick Mahomes a lot of, I don't want to say it's not going to cost some money, but it's going to cost him a lot more playoff games because of the money that he's making.
So I can see what you're saying of Tyreek Hill is going to want his money, but I feel there are certain players that are kind of bought into this Kansas City system, and I think Travis Kelce will retire as a Kansas City Chiefs. I believe he is 32 years old right now, going into his 7th or 8th season. But do you guys realize that Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce were both on the Kansas City roster before Patrick Mahomes came to this team, right? They were with Alex Smith, right? They were not Pro Bowl caliber players when it was Alex Smith. Were they good? Yes. Travis Kelce did get one Pro Bowl with Alex Smith as their quarterback, but since Patrick Mahomes has been on the field with these guys, they are both Pro Bowl players the last 4 seasons, and that is because of Patrick Mahomes, Combs. So therefore, he is elevating the play of Tyreek Hill. Who knew about Byron Pringle until this playoffs? I did, because I follow Kansas State football. Yes, he went to Kansas State. He was leading the reception getter from the University of Kansas State there. And guess what? He was a free agent draft pick. Nobody wanted him. Kansas City Chiefs got him, and Patrick Mahomes elevated his play. How about McCole Hardman, right? Yes, I believe he was a first round pick. What has he done for the Kansas City Chiefs? Absolutely dog crap. That is why him and Tyreek Hill were arguing on the sideline during the AFC Championship game, because McCole Hardman knows he is on his way out. He does not have a spot on this roster when he wants to go make his money, because you know what? What have you done for me? Patrick Mahomes can elevate the players of Tyreek Hill, Byron Pringle, Josh Gordon will be back. They signed him back onto the prep squad after they cut him right before the playoffs. Tyreek Hill, how about this guy? Nobody knows about him. Marcus Kemp, number 85. He is going to be a threat next year. Watch out for this guy. Patrick Mahomes does elevate those guys, Combs, but I also feel that Patrick Mahomes knows that he is going to have to take a pay cut or a restructuring to win a lot. And that is why he is so invested into the city, because he knows that at some point he is going to have to take a step back, and he understands that. I think he gets it.
I think you're putting Mahomes on this pedestal, and I think you're blinded by your fanboyness.
Probably.
Okay, because this is what. So Travis Kelce, prior to Patrick Mahomes being his quarterback, was 1,000 yards a season tight end.
Yeah, but how many Pro Bowls did he get? 2.
Who cares? Pro Bowl? Guys don't even want to go to the Pro Bowl. Tom Brady is faking a shoulder injury in the season that he retires, so he doesn't have to go to a Pro Bowl.
Nobody wants to go
People
to a Pro Bowl.
People don't care about the Pro Bowl. Nobody cares about the Pro Bowl.
I care about it.
Nobody cares. The guys don't even want to play in it. And they don't play in it if you watch the games. They just show up and collect a paycheck. Nobody cares about the Pro Bowl. The guy was putting up numbers before Patrick Mahomes got there. Tyreek Hill was putting up numbers before Patrick Mahomes got there. Patrick Mahomes, if these guys go anywhere, you put Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill on the Jacksonville Jaguars next year, they each have 1,000 yards receiving.
Okay, so you named a pair there. If they go somewhere, they're not going somewhere together. If you put Travis Kelce on the Jacksonville Jaguars,
Travis Kelce on the Jacksonville Jaguars, he has 1,000 yards receiving.
No, he doesn't.
You put Tyreek Hill on the Houston Texans, he has 1,000 yards receiving next year.
No,
you're out of your mind.
No.
You're out of your mind.
Because what makes them so great is, for one, Patrick Mahomes' ability to scramble. You're like in Alpha Rob's thing, like techno bow and run backwards, right? But he makes plays happen. He's always looking downfield. And what makes Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Byron Pringle and McCole Hardman and Josh Gordon, all those guys, so great is the ability to stretch the play. Is Trevor Lawrence going to look like Patrick Mahomes out there, Combs? So let's just say we put Trevor Lawrence on the Kansas City Chiefs right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let him know. I'll let him know.
Yeah.
Amazon just called. Your Patrick Mahomes knee pads are on their way.
Hey, you know what? It's okay because I don't have to worry about Brittany Mahomes anymore. It is simple. it is simple as that. But seriously, Combs, you put Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce on any other team separated, they are not as effective.
You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. You put them on any team, they elevate that team. Period.
Okay.
And they are the leading target, the leading receivers. They're going to get their touches. They're going to get their yards. Patrick Mahomes doesn't do that for them. The reason why that system works in Kansas City is because Patrick Mahomes has the ability to extend plays, and they find a way to get open as they're extending plays. Tell me right now, okay? If you put Tyreek Hill with Joe Burrow, is Joe Burrow able to do the same things that Patrick Mahomes can do?
Probably
he showed that he can yesterday. He showed that he could yesterday. He showed that he could yesterday. Game. And then you put him on a team with Aaron Rodgers. You don't think Tyreek Hill has a freaking ton of yards? Joe Burrow is the most accurate quarterback in the NFL.
Okay.
That guy puts a ball on a dime.
Okay,
so
cool.
To tell me that Tyreek Hill wouldn't, I think Tyreek Hill would have his best season ever if he was with Joe Burrow.
Tyreek Hill is the worst route runner in the NFL. Have you seen him run?
You don't have to run a route when you run a 3.440. That's what Tyreek Hill does.
But what his speed does is his ability to extend plays with Patrick Mahomes. That's what makes him a prolific receiver, a top 5
Patrick
or top 10
Mahomes
receiver.
Is not the only quarterback in the league that can extend plays.
Who else can? All those quarterbacks that you said.
Joe Burrow did it all night last night in the second half. Did you not watch the game? Did you turn it off because they were losing the lead?
We were
or something?
not losing.
Did you not watch what Joe Burrow?
Game.
Did you not watch what Joe Burrow was doing to that defense? They had him dead to rights 9 freaking times, and he out Patrick Mahomes.
Joe Burrow stepped up in
Patrick
the pocket.
Mahomes is getting sacked the way I expected Joe Burrow to get sacked yesterday.
True. I got you there. But all those quarterbacks that you named, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence, all those guys that you named are not going to extend plays like either of those two guys. And Alpha Rob says that Hill and Kelce would have 1,000 yards with Kirk Cousins. Once again, you guys are putting them as a pair. As a pair, they are great. You cannot take that away. It is a perfect 1-2 punch. But you separate them, they're both not as good.
Is Patrick Mahomes the top 5 quarterback in this league right now?
Yes.
Debatable.
Debatable? How? He is at least number 2.
Would you take him over Tom Brady?
Yes. The only person I would not take him over right now is Aaron Rodgers.
Go to break. You just lost your argument.
How?
Over Tom freaking Brady.
Yeah, Mr. Oh, my shoulder hurts. I can't play it no more. Come on.
I can't play in the Pro Bowl. Get the hell out of here.
He's
Mr. 7. You would take him over Mr. 7. How about instead of Mr. My arm hurts? How about Mr. 7 Super Bowls and 10 tries?
How about Mr. I throw 3 interceptions and still win the game? That's a good one, right?
yeah. Well, if
I do
Patrick
like that
Mahomes
stat.
could do that, they'd still be going to the Super Bowl.
He only threw 2 interceptions. He needed that third one.
Oh, okay.
All right, guys. So we are up against the break here on BellyUp.tv. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk some infamous way or no way, but of course we're going to talk to Chicago Bears. Combsy got to let some stuff off his chest. Was it a right hire? Who did they hire? And quite frankly, who does it really matter? All that, much more, guys, right here on the Man Hour. We'll be right back.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have big doubts, not what I'm about, have your fucking cloud. It be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, bitch I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. 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 Anything negative, cause I just wanna hear it out your mouth, yeah. Give me fuel, it's a tool that I use to go ahead and run my fucking mouth, yeah. I take shots, I take loss, I make shots, I miss lots. I thought you get big box, you get yachts, you swing lots and pop off a big shot. I ain't done chasing, got big dreams, bigger things, impatient. Who's at the top think they need replacement? Who's at the top think I'm gonna erase them? Face it, I don't give up quick, I don't give up shit, I won't give up this. Cause I know that I want it, know that I'm on it, I'll make it, I promise. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can.
And welcome back to the Man Hour, guys. Michael Buckeyes along with Brandon Beastie Combs tonight. We got to jump into the Combs. We kind of neglected it. Is that the word, neglected? Neglected it before we went to break. And you guys have had a great conversation over there in YouTube. We also got a poll going there on the YouTube channel. Did Patrick Mahomes ultimately cost a game for the Kansas City Chiefs? Simply vote yes or no. And right now it is, let me pull it up. It is 50-50.
Should be 100% yes.
It is 50-50. So 50-50. So Alpha Rob comes in and says, "Come on, Buck. You know you're taking Allen over Patrick Mahomes." Josh Allen was good, but he ultimately did not beat Patrick Mahomes.
I'm taking Mac Jones over Patrick Mahomes right now.
Oh, get out of here.
Mac Jones is in the Pro Bowl. You said it yourself. Pro Bowls matter.
So does Patrick Mahomes.
No, Patrick Mahomes isn't in the Pro Bowl.
He's not, really?
No.
I didn't know
He's
that.
not even an MVP.
Okay.
Joe Burrow is.
Yeah, Joe Burrow is an MVP. Speaking of MVPs, who do you think is going to win the MVP? Is it Aaron Rodgers again?
It should be Joe Burrow. It really should. And I said that before the season, before the playoffs even started, it should have been Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I still think it should be Joe Burrow, but who knows? I mean, they'll probably end up giving it to Tom Brady, being his last season and all.
Well, the voting is done before the playoffs start, so maybe they didn't know it was Tom Brady's final year yet, yada, 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 maybe. But I think Aaron Rodgers probably wins it, to be honest. Drew says Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen are the big three in the league right now. Actually, I would take Justin Herbert. Like, I feel Justin Herbert has to be slid in there somewhere. So I mean, those are all three great names. But if you had to take one out, Combs, to put Herbert in there, who are you taking out? Is it Mahomes?
To put Herbert in?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: do you think Herbert is a top 3 quarterback in the AFC?
Oh God!
Because those are all AFC guys.
Yeah. No, I think he's top 5. He's not top 3 though. Yeah. I mean, you've got Burrow. You've got. Trying to think how I would go with this. I would go. Actually, you know what? We're forgetting all. Deshaun Watson's number 1. He's in the AFC.
For now.
Deshaun Watson's the best quarterback in the AFC. Then you go Joe Burrow is number 2. Josh Allen is number 3. You go. I would go Mac Jones and then Justin Herbert.
Yeah. Wow. That is.
I don't even have Patrick Mahomes in the top 5 in the AFC.
Yeah. So speaking of top 5, Combs, we will be releasing our top 10 rankings to going into the 2022 season here in the next month or two. After the season's over and we collect our thoughts and stats and we start writing it down. So you will have your top 10 and I'll have my top 10 and we will debate that throughout the show. So definitely getting excited about that. But those 3 names that Drew mentioned there, Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen, I think we've seen the best of their play, right? I think they all have reached their ceiling. Herbert probably has the biggest ceiling to reach still. So,
yeah, I think Herbert's only getting better.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy thing because he's had 2 really good seasons so far, and I think he's only getting better. And once they get him the help around him, that team's going to be dangerous.
They have help. They just need to get that coaching staff ironed in, right?
Yeah, they need a second wide receiver.
Yes, they do.
So
they lost Hunter Henry to the Patriots, right? So that's a big loss for them. So Alpha Rob says, what about Derek Carr? Derek Carr is a great quarterback, and he is improving each year, but you cannot put him in the top 5. I mean, he's probably like a 5B or 6, but
I would put Derek Carr ahead of Patrick Mahomes right now too.
I mean, with Josh McDaniels as the head coach now, maybe they can work that in. We will be talking about that more coming up here on hour number 2 on the Man Hour. But Combs, let's get into a little bit of your Chicago Bears here. They have introduced their head coach. Believe it's Matt Eberflus. Is that how you say his name? Eberflus.
Eberflus, yeah.
And then they hire Ryan Poles as your general manager. It's just funny because they fired a Matt and a Ryan and they hired a Ryan and a Matt, which is crazy. But
welcome to the Bears.
But they did have their press conference today to introduce their general manager and their head coach. Did we learn anything from this press conference today?
Well, I watched this press conference pretty closely. I was kind of impressed. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big fan of Ryan Poles. I love the hire of Ryan Poles. I think that was a huge get from your guys over there in Kansas City. The guy was a big part in getting Patrick Mahomes. And so this guy, I believe, knows how to evaluate talent. Because coming out of college, I mean, let's just face it. If you thought Patrick Mahomes is going to be Patrick Mahomes coming out of college, then you had a crystal ball because the guy was a losing quarterback in college. So to see that he was going to be this, to me is amazing.
Yeah.
So I think he's a good evaluator of talent. And I think being a former player, a former Bears player at that, I think you have the drive to succeed and want to see the program succeed. You want to see the team succeed. And then the Eberflus hire, which kind of, it rubbed me the wrong way at first, right? Because I'm like, First, it was Pohl's way of answering it when somebody asked, how do you explain the hire of Matt? And he says, well, throughout the entire process, he impressed me. And I'm like, the entire process? You hired him on Thursday. You got hired on Tuesday. What process are you talking about? Like, how many interviews did you really do? And so that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I thought Eberflus was one of those guys, Eberflus was one of those guys who just, I felt like he was a McCaskey guy at first, right? And then I started reading up on it. I started doing some digging, and I find out that these guys actually have a history together. They've known each other through different circles, through coaching. Eberflus was one of the guys who coached Ryan while he was playing, so they have a history together. And this is his guy, I think. I think this is his guy. I think that he went out. They may have given him a list because I don't like the fact that they didn't get to interview Kevin O'Connell from Los Angeles. I don't like the fact that they didn't interview Eric Bieniemy from Kansas City. I didn't like that stuff. But the more I heard today, and what I heard was really what I wanted to hear, right? Which was, we're going to build our offense around Justin Fields, which all last year was building Justin Fields around our offense. And that wasn't the way to go. And then they go out and they hire Getsy from Green Bay, and a guy who's never called plays before, but a guy who's been in the Green Bay Packers organization. I think he probably hasn't called plays because Matt LaFleur is one of those, offensive geniuses who has to call the plays and be a big, just like, my boy Matt Nagy was, offensive genius. And so that's why they're sitting at home watching the Super Bowl. But I feel like this is what I wanted to hear. I feel like this is a good step in the right direction. Maybe they're not the right hires. Maybe only time's going to tell. Maybe the Bears got lucky. Maybe they found the right guys. I think that the hiring of Poles, having a GM of color, is a step in the right direction for the Chicago Bears. One, I never thought they'd have a quarterback of color, let alone a general manager of color. And so I think that the Bears organization is starting to take steps in the right direction. I'm hopeful that the McCaskey family can kind of step away and just watch and let these guys do their thing. Let them draft who they want to draft. Let them build their team the way they want to build it. And hopefully we can build a winner here in Chicago, because Lord knows we're thirsty for it.
So, Combs, let me ask you a few questions here before I get to my point, okay? So, what are the Chicago Bears known for? What is their bread and butter from last year? Their defense or their offense?
Defense. The Bears have always been built on defense and running the ball. Exactly.
So, what position did Ryan Poles play in the NFL? A linebacker or a running back?
Linebacker.
He was a linebacker. What was Eberflus? He was a defensive coordinator in the Colts, right?
Correct.
And then their hiring of the OC never called plays, from what you said, right? So.
Well, he's a quarterback coach for Aaron Rodgers, so.
But he never called plays because this is my first year of being a head coach and calling plays, and I can tell you right now, I am like a duck. Like, I am calm and collective on the surface, but even during the spring practices that we are running, I am overwhelmed with trying to get my play calls in, right? Thinking 3 or 4 or 5 plays ahead. It is very, very tough to call plays, especially on the NFL level. So everything that you said points to the Chicago Bears being a dominant defense. Again, they have a defensive-minded general manager, they have a defensive-minded head coach, and they have an offensive coordinator that has never called plays before. So really, they're going to be relying on their defense all season long. So when they say we are going to build around the Justin Fields, how can you properly build around Justin Fields if you are defensive minded? Yes, I do know the old saying, the best defensive minded players make the best offensive coaches, because you know what gives them fits. But how do you really evaluate talent on the offensive side if you don't know what to look for on the offensive side? How do you know what Justin Fields wants? Yes, we know that he is a great RPO quarterback in college. Will that translate into the NFL? We don't know yet. But is Jet Ski or whatever his name is he going to be able to call RPO plays? Are they going to install a RPO offense? We don't know. Just because with all that being said, when you are a defensive-minded, yes, defense wins championship, Combs. That is the old saying, but you still have to score points. Still have to score points of the game. I am really worried about your Chicago Bears because when you hire all of these defensive-minded people and then you have a quarterback, a young, black, talented, athletic quarterback, and you want to build around him, I'm worried that this is destined to fail before he even gets off the ground.
So all of those are valid questions, right? Because there is a lot of unknowns in what we have with what the Chicago Bears just did. There's a lot of unknowns with Ryan Poles. There's a lot of unknowns with Matt Eberflus. But let me ask you a question.
Definitely.
The New England Patriots in 2000 hired a defensive coordinator to be their head coach. Do you remember what his name was?
I believe it was Belichick, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Which was a head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
And he was a defensive coordinator and a defensive-minded head coach. And do you remember who he hired on as his offensive coordinator, who is now going to be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders?
By that it was Josh McDaniels, but I didn't think he didn't hire him till 2011.
Well, it was later. It was later. But Josh McDaniels, when he became the offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots, had never called plays before.
Right.
Coming in to coach Tom Brady. So what I'm saying is just because a head coach is not proven, just because a head coach is defensive minded, doesn't mean that you can't bring in a guy that has never called plays before to lead an offensive minded team.
I'm not saying you can either.
And they don't even have to be offensive minded. The Bears can be a very good defensive team with an offense that just is better than the Bears have ever had. And 2 or 3 years later, the goal is for Getsy to have a head coaching job in 2 to 3 years, right? Because if Getsy has a head coaching job in 2 to 3 years, that means Justin Fields has developed and this Bears offense is flourishing.
Right.
And so you are kind of starting from scratch. You are allowing a guy who's coming in, doesn't already have his own set ways because he's never had ways before. He's building around your second year quarterback who really, let's say this is his rookie year, because he really didn't have a rookie year other than he got some playing time because his rookie year was trash. And two, you're bringing in a whole new set of guys to build everything around him. You're going to develop everything around him. And yes, are they going to be very good defensively? Yes, because I think that I watched his defense in Indianapolis, and every year that he was there, they were in the top 5 in the NFL in takeaways.
Right.
That is really hard to do. That is really hard to do year in and year out, to be in the top 5 in takeaways every single year. And so you're going to get back to Bears football. You're bringing in an offensive coordinator who is going to develop around Justin Fields, who's going to develop actually with Justin Fields, and a guy who might not be afraid to run the ball and allow a guy, because we do have a very good running back. And so we've got to develop that, and you've got to allow time. Maybe these are the wrong hires. Maybe it happens again. Maybe the Bears got the wrong guys again. It wouldn't surprise me if that happens. But what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing from them and what I'm reading by all the research, because that's all I have to go on, is research. Right. There's no tape on these guys. There's no proven history on these guys. All I have to go by is research, and everything that I'm reading, everything that I'm hearing from them in press conferences, it's all good stuff. And it's not stuff that we've had here in Chicago. So maybe it's the right hire, maybe it's the wrong hire, We won't know. Only time's going to tell. But what I can tell you is they're headed in the right direction for now.
Yeah, so before I get into my next question here, I want to revert back what you said about Josh McDaniels. Yes, it was his first year of being an offensive coordinator and playing and calling the plays and whatnot. But he also had a great quarterback to lead him the way and teach him what he wanted to do in Tom Brady. And I think Tom Brady basically taught Josh McDaniels how to be offensive coordinator in the end. And I don't think Trey Lance can teach jet ski of how to be an offensive coordinator. He is going to have to teach himself. So with that being said, what kind of timeline are we expecting to whether make or break for the Chicago Bears? What they gave Matt Nagy, 4 years, 5 years? What kind of time frame do you think it is to deem this a success or a fail for the Chicago Bears?
I think you got to give them their 3 years, right? After 3 years, you should know whether or not this is successful. They're not going to be good this year. They're not. And so you've got to be successful within the next 3 years, right? If you win, they won 6 games last year under Matt Nagy. You dropped Matt Nagy, you dropped Ryan Pace, you're going to improve. So what do you say? Maybe 8 wins for the Bears this year. Justin Fields' second year in the league. You've got some players. You've got a head coach that's defensive-minded. Maybe they get a game or 2 out of that. 8, maybe 9 wins if they have a really good season, right? But maybe 9 wins this division. Because if Aaron Rodgers is no longer with the Green Bay Packers, who knows what type of season they're going to have. The Minnesota Vikings underperform every single season. The Detroit Lions they're the Detroit Lions.
11 wins, baby.
They're where people go to kill their careers. and then you've got the Chicago Bears. 9 wins might win you the division and get you into the playoffs. So I think that a successful season can't be determined off of wins or losses in the first year. What you have to determine as being a successful season in the first year is how much growth do you see from your quarterback, Justin Fields? How much growth do you see in this team? Because if you win 9 games, but you're winning them like you won them when Mitch Trubisky went 12-4, or you're winning them like you when Rex Grossman took you to the Super Bowl, and you're winning them without scoring offensive touchdowns, then something's wrong. Because your quarterback that you spent a first-round draft pick on, that you traded 3 first-round draft picks for, so 4 first-round draft picks are going to waste if Justin Fields is not developing and becoming the quarterback that he can be.
So, like, you are a realistic fan, and you are not going to judge successful by a win-loss, performance here going into the 2022 NFL season. But an outsider such as myself, if I see the Bears going 6-11 again, I'm going to deem that as a non-successful season, because of the simple fact of the matter is that you were the same record as you were with the old head coach, and Justin Fields is still just a 6-win quarterback at best. So you are giving them 3 years to basically perform and growth. What is deemed for you as a successful season? Is making the playoffs a successful season? Is beating the Packers twice next year a successful season? Next year, besides of everything that you said, what is deemed a successful season in year number 2 with this new regime?
Year number 2 is going to be a playoff berth. Year number 2 is going to be win the division and get into the playoffs. And then year number 3 has got to be at least an NFC title game. And then year number 4 and 5 at least be competing for a Super Bowl title. At least be competing. At least you just have to continue. You have to continue to get back to that realm. You've got to be like the Green Bay Packers. You've got to be like the Kansas City Chiefs, the New England Patriots. You got to continue to be successful. Sustained success after the 3rd year is what's going to determine whether or not this regime is successful.
So Alpha Rob says, today's NFL, they have no patience. So you are basically saying they have to be a Super Bowl caliber team by year 3. You really think you can turn around your Chicago Bears in 3 years, Combs?
I could turn him around this year, but I'd be spending a lot of money.
Well, clearly they don't have like what does the
they
cap
have
look
it.
like? Do they have it?
They have it. They have it, but I don't know if the NFL will allow me to spend it. But they have it.
They laugh it. So, guys, we are up against the next break here. So, Combs, let's go ahead and jump into the comments here and address a few things. My man Hoffy was jumping on, and he says Mac Jones sucks.
Hoffy, man. He's a Pats fan too.
Yeah,
that's
what I said.
rough.
And then
I think he's just trying to troll.
Yeah.
I think that he's upset because TB12 is walking into the wind and calling it a career. So he thinks it's all Mac Jones' fault.
So speaking of TB12, all those Patriots fans that jump ship and become Tampa Bay fans, do they jump back and become Patriots fans again, or do they stay Buccaneers fans?
I think they go back to just being Patriots fans, but they're Patriots fans, so they'll be a fan of any team they can say is good.
Alrighty. So Drew says a successful season for the Chicago Bears is not getting Fields killed will be a success.
I mean, the stuff like that is like, you know, I don't get into those types of arguments because it's like the people that they want to start talking with you and then they're like, oh, well, the Vikings. As soon as you give them like a nickname or as soon as you make a comment, like I'm not gonna argue because you just want to argue just for arguing. Obviously, not getting Fields killed would be a success, but they've got some pieces on that offensive line. They've got Getsy now. They come in, they bring in, you know, there's a couple of guys that they could bring in. They could bring in the Callahan. I can't remember his first name. The guy's from the south side of Chicago. He's great rapport of being an offensive line coach. There's rumors that he's coming to the team as well. He'd do wonders with that offensive line. Justin Fields also can do things like Joe Burrows can with a subpar offensive line that can at least protect them a little bit. So you're going to see a lot of growth out of Justin Fields this year. The kid's a good quarterback, and he's going to show it this year.
Good, bad, or indifferent. He will be a different quarterback by the end of the season, says Beastie Combs over there. And one last comment before we head to break. Alpha Rob says, I was really hoping the Bears would have hired Leslie Frazier as their coach. Basically wants Leslie Frazier off their hands because he's a terrible coach.
Well, why would you wish that on anybody?
Because he's a Buffalo Bills fan and he wants your Bills to suck, I guess. Or your Bears to suck, I should say, not Bills.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have hired Leslie Frazier to shine my shoes.
Drew says Lovie Smith was a good coach.
Lovie Smith was a good coach.
Yeah.
And he got fired after a playoff run. Like the guy was a consistent winner. He was a great head coach. That defense under him, I mean, he took Rex Grossman to the Super Bowl. How could he not be a good head coach?
Sure.
And so the Bears fired him after, I believe it was that playoff loss to Green Bay in the NFC title game. But I don't know. It was a bad move, and they haven't been the same since.
All right, guys, we are up against the break here. On the other side of the break, we do have the infamous Way or No Way coming up right here on Man Hour, brought to you by Skull Candy Original Headphones. Head over to SkullCandyOriginal.com. Use promo code Man Hour to save yourself some dollar bills, y'all. Alpha Rob says, in other words, Frazier wouldn't last there for 13 seconds. Pun intended. Ha, 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 ha.
Ha, 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 ha.
All right, guys, we'll be right back here on the Man Hour.
Hey, gang, it's Commissioner Cooper from TSS Fantasy. We are the fantasy show of the people. That means we give the people what they want. Expert fantasy advice, leading medical and legal analysis, free contests, and innovative games to keep you entertained. Watch us live with the Tiki Live app on the Belly Up Sports channel, subscribe to us on YouTube, or follow us on all social media platforms. Visit TSSFantasy.com today for all the latest updates from the fantasy show of the people. We put the fun in fantasy.
Yeah!
Instead of
mayo over sour cream, yeah.
Right. That's because you have high cholesterol. Okay.
If you drafted Julio Jones,
you got ghosted.
This is amazing. TSS Fantasy is like an orgasm. If I had a cigarette, I'd smoke it. I'm pumped to be here. This is the show of shows.
TSS Fantasy, the fantasy show of the people.
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain, I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints, money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague, we all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name, all our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be, living in a time where disease is on every screen, I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering, negativity is a plague for the mentally weak, no mercy, all I got is working, never stop searching, never quench the thirsty, I'm toxic and psychotic, with this logic, you can't stop it, it's been chronic, since I was a boy, so neurotic and chaotic, go! To last with the webs I'm weaving, I could change the past with all I'm achieving, got my foot on gas, never stop competing, if you break like glass, then this life's gonna end.
And welcome back, Man Hour Nation. It's your boy BC Brandon Combs, along with Mike Buckheister. It is time for Way or No Way, everybody's favorite segment of the week. You guys know what it is. We just come up with some random stuff. We say whether it's a way or a no way. I like to get Buck's goat in these sometimes and get him going, and I'm going to do that here right off the bat. Buck, you ready?
Man, I'm always ready because we're getting ready to talk about the GOAT.
God, stop it. Way or no way, Patrick Mahomes will never win another Super Bowl.
Combs, when I first saw this, I thought you were just out of your ever-loving mind. Patrick Mahomes is only 5 years in the league. He sat his first year. His 4 years as a starter, he has gone to the AFC Championship game those 4 years. But then I got to looking around, and we got to talking about the AFC alone. Guys, the AFC alone is freaking stacked. You can probably name 10 quarterbacks that are top 10 quarterbacks in the AFC alone. Mac Jones, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, right? And you can, Aaron Rodgers is probably coming to the AFC as well. So to say that he will never win a Super Bowl, on hindsight, you got to say no way, because he has like 9 years left on his 10-year, $50 or $500 million contract. But Combs, the AFC is loaded, and no, come on, Combs, they're going to win a Super Bowl next year, baby. You try to get me. It's not going to happen. Kansas City Chiefs and the Patrick Mahomes will win at least 4 more Super Bowls before he is all said and done. Giving him 5. It is not the 7 that the Tom Brady has by any means, but 5 championships is a lot for anybody. Yeah, he's going to win 4 more easily, Combs. Come on.
I'm going with Way. I think it is extremely hard to win multiple Super Bowls in the NFL. It is extremely hard to continuously get back there year after year after year. And it's not like he plays in a division that the New England Patriots played while Tom Brady was racking up all them division championships, right? He doesn't have the Jets and the Dolphins and the Bills to consistently beat up on. Sorry, Alpha Rob, but the Bills were terrible while Brady was doing that run.
Thanks.
Now he's in a division where he's got Justin Herbert in his division. He's got Derek Carr in his division, and he can never seem to beat the Raiders. All right, and then you got Denver in his division, and they might get Aaron Rodgers. And if Aaron Rodgers comes, Devontae Adams is coming too. They just hired the Packers head coach. Or I'm sorry, not head coach, the Packers coordinator as their head coach, I should say. So I don't think he's going to. I think that the AFC is so stacked that it's going to be hard for him to win another Super Bowl, let alone even get back to another Super Bowl. And then when you start looking at his playoff numbers, when it comes to the Super Bowl and when it comes to the AFC title game, his numbers significantly go down after you get out of the divisional round. And so I don't I don't know that Patrick Mahomes is ever going to get back to another Super Bowl, let alone win another Super Bowl.
So are you saying like how stacked the AFC is right now that none of them are going to repeat?
I'm not saying none of them are going to repeat, but what I'm saying is it's going to be extremely difficult. And I think that Patrick Mahomes really has like a small window here, because once you start losing Kelsey and you start losing Tyreek Hill, you're going look, the Buffalo Bills are going to be good for years to come, right?
3 more
years. You look at the Los Angeles Chargers are only getting better, as we talked about earlier. You looked at the Las Vegas Raiders. It's going to see what Josh McDaniels can do with that team this coming season. But then you look at the Bengals with Joe Burrow. You look at the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. You look at the Houston Texans, if they are able to get Deshaun Watson to come back and put some pieces around Deshaun Watson. You look at the Indianapolis Colts, who are very good. Like the Tennessee Titans. These are teams that are consistently good. It's going to be hard to even just get back in the AFC. Okay, if he was in the NFC, it might be a different story, because the NFC is a completely different animal, right? Because there's a lot of room.
There, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of teams right now. There's a lot of room to have somebody come up and just make a run for the next 5 or 10 years. Not so much in the AFC. It's going to be hard for any of these quarterbacks to go to multiple Super Bowls, let alone do it consistently like Patrick Mahomes has done.
Yeah, I do agree with you to that extent.
All right, moving on. Tom Brady's injury is the real reason he's not playing in the Pro Bowl.
I really love how you emphasize those air quotes, because I quite frankly don't think he is injured by any means. Let's just be honest. Who wants to play in the Pro Bowl at the end of the day? Absolutely nobody. Has Tom Brady ever played in a Pro Bowl, Combs? I don't think he has. I mean, if you think about it, I don't think he has ever played in a Pro Bowl, because half of his career he has been in the Super Bowl, right? And the only reason why the only reason why we watched the Pro Bowl is for the skills competition and dodgeball. That's the only reason why I'll be watching the Pro Bowl, which the Pro Bowl's on Sunday. So I'll be watching Saturday. We'll be watching dodgeball and the skills competition. So basically, Tom Brady doesn't want to end his legacy of playing a Pro Bowl. I mean, he wants to end it on the field, and he's probably bitter, to be honest. He's bitter with AB. He's bitter with all the injuries that happened in Tampa Bay this year, and he's bitter that Matthew Stafford
and
beat
he's
him.
Retiring.
Allegedly retiring, right? But so no way the injury, air quote, there is the reason why he is not playing. He just doesn't want to. He doesn't have the will to play in the Pro Bowl.
This is an absolute positively no way, okay? And I'm going to keep this short and I'm going to keep it simple. He does not have an injury. The man has been away from home for the better half of the last 6 months. He's been out of commission at home for the last 6 months because he's been trying to win another Super Bowl, okay? He's got a supermodel of a wife, okay? He's got a lot of time to make up for. He is not injured. He is horny.
Combs, you are 45 years old, aren't you? Can you even get it up anymore?
First of all, I'm 40.
Okay, but
about
can
to be
you get
41.
It up? Can you get it up without the blue or the yellow pill?
Plenty.
Okay.
Plenty
of 3 inches. Tom Brady needs that blue pill, Combs. all the acupuncture in the world is not going to get his little pee up.
Look, even a 747 looks small when you fly it into the Grand Canyon, Buck.
So you're saying his supermodel girlfriend or wife has been around the block a little bit, Holmesy?
I mean, maybe. Moving on. Jimmy G will not be a starter in the NFL next season.
So many speculations have said Jimmy G is no longer going to be a San Francisco 49ers. Well, spoiler alert, guys, he signed a 2-year contract extension to the start of the season with a no-trade clause in it. So I believe it was $24 million total per year that he signed with the San Francisco 49ers. So the 49ers would be stupid not to make them a starter next year. So if they were to trade them, it would be for a couple first-round picks or for players, and a team isn't going to give up those type of caliber of players or picks to not have a starter on your to not trade for a starting quarterback. So he definitely will be a starting quarterback in the NFL. He will win a Super Bowl, and he will lead the San Francisco 49ers to Super Bowl again next year.
Did you watch that game last night?
I did.
Did you see how the Niners season ended last night?
I also seen that Kyle Shanahan shit the bed again when he was up 10-plus points in a championship game and they lost because he does not trust his play calling.
Did Kyle Shanahan try to avoid a sack by taking a blind pass underhand behind his back?
Jimmy G had to do that because he knew Kyle Shanahan was calling shit plays.
You had a timeout and you had just take the sack.
He just made a high throw. The running back was right there. The running back dropped the ball. He had two hands on it.
It would have been 3rd and 11.
Okay.
Take the sack.
Would you rather have 3rd and 11 or 3rd and 6?
Buck, look, Jimmy G, Kyle Shanahan's been done with Jimmy G since before the season. He's wanted Trey Lance to take over all season long.
Then why did he start?
Trey Lance is going to be their starting quarterback next season. Jimmy G is going to get traded, and he's going to get traded for a bag of footballs. You think it's going to take a lot to get Jimmy G? I think it's going to be for a bag of footballs, and he's going to go somewhere to rot as a backup quarterback. He is not going to be a starter in the NFL next year. He shouldn't be a starter in the NFL next year. The guy, he had one touchdown pass this entire playoff run. They were in the NFC title game. He had one touchdown pass.
Exactly.
He was responsible for one offensive score the entire playoffs.
Hey, he handed the ball off really, really well to Deebo Samuel many, many times, Combs.
Get the hell out of here. This guy is not a starting quarterback in the league. I hate to say it because he's a local guy. Like, he's from here in Chicago. He's just not a starting quarterback in this league. He's not. He's just not. Is he better than me? Yes, sure. But I'm not even a freaking ride the pine, hold the clipboard type of guy in the NFL. Jimmy G is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. I hate to say it. Moving on. All right, so I don't know if you've seen this story, Buck, but you remember Antonio Brown's tirade at MetLife Stadium where he, just quit on his team, went off shirtless, started throwing stuff into the crowd?
Oh, no, I don't remember that at all.
Well, he threw one of his receiving gloves into the crowd, right?
Right.
And right now, that glove is up for auction. Jesus. And it started out at $81, which was his number at Tampa Bay, and it's up to over $360 right now. So way or no way, you would put a bid in on Antonio Brown's glove.
No way, Combs. No freaking way. For one, how do we know it was Antonio Brown's glove, right? Because I can go to Dick's Sporting Goods, buy that same exact glove, throw it around in some dirt, and bada bing, bada boom, hey, it's Antonio glove that he threw into the stands. Like, no.
I would assume it's certified.
How can it be certified? You can literally buy the same exact glove at Dick's Sporting Goods. You can, I have seen, so who do we speak to?
If you go to the team, if you catch a ball during a game, you could go up to one of the stadium staff members and you could say, hey, I'd like to have this certified before I leave that this was a game-used ball. They will take you down and they will certify that it was a game-used ball. They'll put a sticker on it and everything. And it's a certified number. And it happens that you could have done it at the stadium too. You could have been like, hey, look, I caught the Antonio Brown glove. Can you certify this for me before I leave the stadium, please?
Well, if that is true, I didn't know you could do that, so I doubt the person that caught the glove knew that as well. Do you remember that interview that we did with the Green Bay Packers guy?
Are you trying to say nobody knows as much as you do?
Exactly. I'm the freaking smartest man on earth, hands down. I'm from Kansas. We repeated fourth grade 6 times minimum. No, but do you remember that interview?
It's because you were so good at it?
Yeah, like we'll just keep on doing it over and over and over until I master it and just get bored of it, right? No, but who was that interview that we did with the Green Bay Packers guy that did the piece about the stolen or the fake game-used Brett Favre jerseys?
Oh.
It was Tori's guy.
Oh, God.
I forget his name, right? But so like, really the only way you're going to ever certify, if you didn't get it certified at the game, certify is you're going to have somebody like that said person. I cannot believe I don't remember his name because that was a great interview. We talked him for like 45 minutes. But
that guy definitely stole the stuff though.
Oh yeah, me like 100%. But
it's sitting in his basement.
But Alpha Rob says Buck's favorite grade. But you guys are dicks. but that is the only way that you would ever prove that it is not a game worn glove, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to Dick's Sporting Goods right here in Charlestown, Indiana. I'm going to buy that said glove. Antonio Brown is probably extra small, right? Because he is such a douchebag. But I'm going to rub some dirt on it, maybe get a little turf stain on it, and I want to put it up for auction. Like, no, this is the real glove for auction. I mean, no way. I don't bid on that stuff. So stupid.
I wouldn't bid on it either. I mean, look, it's really, really dumb. I just think that this segment was great because we got to learn that you repeated the fourth grade 6 times just because, not because you were dumb and you failed, but because you were so good at it, you had to keep going.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Moving on. So I read this on ESPN and I watched the video, and Stephen A., who says some questionable. So look, I respect Stephen A. Stephen A. has made himself. No, I do. I respect Stephen A. He's made himself into a millionaire. He's got himself on General Hospital. He's made himself into a brand. So I respect him. But sometimes he says some stupid stuff, and this was one of them. He says that Joe Burrow winning the Super Bowl would be a better story than Matt Stafford winning it. Way or no way, Buck?
Can you repeat that for the audience, just so I can like collect my thoughts and like really say what I want to say?
Joe Burrow winning the Super Bowl would be a better story than Matt Stafford winning the Super Bowl.
And Stephen A. said it is a better story?
Yeah.
As you guys know, I dislike Stephen A. Smith. I despise everything he stands for. I think Skip Bayless is hands down better. I like Max Kellerman better than him. If Stephen A. wasn't such a diva, Max Kellerman would still be on First Take and be a hell of a lot better show. But this pains me to say, Combs. This hurts my soul right now, and I'm glad I've been drinking because Stephen A. is right on this, Combs. Matthew Stafford got put in a great position. Great team that's already been to the Super Bowl. This is the Rams' second Super Bowl in 4 years, Combs. They bought a team. They bought Von Miller. They bought Odell Beckham Jr. Yes, they drafted Aaron Donald, right? And they drafted a few other guys. But this is a bought team in LA Rams. Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow. Yes, Joe Burrow wasn't on the 2-14 team, but the next year when he was a rookie, they just had four wins, and now 1 year removed from that, they are in the freaking Super Bowl. Yes, this is a Hollywood story, Combs. No doubt in my mind, this is the greatest story, hands down. Yes, Matthew Stafford was a great story. Yes, he, never won a playoff game in Detroit, got his ass kicked in Detroit over and over and over. Went to a bot team, won 3 playoff games, found his way into the Super Bowl because the San Francisco 49ers can't catch an interception. Yes, Joe Burrow is the obvious source here. That's why I'm rooting for Joe Burrow because, he literally took this team from the ground up. Like, Matthew Stafford went on an already Super Bowl caliber team, and guess what? Took them back to the Super Bowl where they should have been anyways. Joe Burrow, hands down, Combs.
Buck, how many years has Joe Burrow been in the league?
This is his second
year in the league. Okay. And while it's a great story, Cincinnati absolutely deserves a winner. That fan base deserves a winner. Been 30 years since they even won a playoff game.
Right.
Okay. I get it. How many years has Matt Stafford been in the league?
I believe it's 15, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep. And 14 of those seasons have been with the Detroit Lions, right?
Historical franchise.
Yeah, historically bad franchise. And it's so bad that Jared Goff, who took the Rams to a Super Bowl, who had them in the playoffs, who was a good quarterback for them, went to Detroit and won 3 games. And then Matt Stafford, who left Detroit, goes to the Rams. It is now going to the Super Bowl. 15 years, caught in NFL hell. and is now has a chance to win the Super Bowl, which I don't think he's going to win. I think Joe Burrow is going to win it. Is a better story than Joe Burrow's in his second season. Joe Burrow hasn't had Joe Burrow is like my son in 2016 watching the Cubs win the World Series, telling me he waited his whole life for this. That's what this is the equivalent of.
It's true.
There is no way this is a better story than Matt Stafford if he were to win the Super Bowl. Both great stories, but the Matt Stafford story is a lot better. Matt Stafford is easily the most underrated quarterback of all time. Matt Stafford has easily been caught in NFL hell for his entire career in Detroit. And now Matt Stafford and Eminem both being in the Super Bowl is the closest Detroit will ever get to being there.
So, Combs, I get what you're saying about the Matthew Stafford. So Matthew Stafford's last year in Detroit, he went 5-12. Sorry, 5-11. Right? Jared Goff went 3-11 this year because he didn't play in 2 games. So in hindsight, Jared Goff had a better season with a rookie head coach, with a new GM, no receivers to name. Swift was hurt all season long. Their number 1 draft pick from 2020. But let's take a few steps back here, okay? Cincinnati schools have already called off school the day following the Super Bowl, because this is how big it is for the city. This is how big it is for Joe Burrow. This is how big it is for the whole tri-state area in Ohio, and Indiana, and Kentucky. This is how big it is here, right? In LA, half of the people, like, who are the Rams? Let's just be honest. Half of the fan base that goes to the Super Bowl that are wearing Rams jerseys, like, who are the Rams? Isn't this just a normal game?
You know what? That's a good point, Buck. I just changed my pick. I'm picking the Rams.
You changed your why? Because Cincinnati can't.
Because the Bengals have too much pressure on them.
They have too much pressure.
The Rams, nobody cares. So the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl. It's over.
It's over. But come on, like, okay. Where was I going with it? Okay, so Matthew Stafford was a number 1 overall pick, same as Joe Burrow, right? In 2 years, Joe Burrow took them into the playoffs. What did Matthew Stafford do his second year? 0-16.
Because he was with the Detroit Lions.
He had
Joe
Calvin
Burrow
Johnson.
would have been 0-16 with this year's Lions.
No, he wouldn't have. With Calvin Johnson in that running game, the Detroit people fail to realize
They didn't have Calvin Johnson when they went 0-16.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't.
It was Matthew Stafford's second year, and Calvin Johnson's like 7th or 8th year, I think it was. I'm almost 90% positive that Calvin Johnson was on the 0-16 team with Matthew Stafford.
I'm pretty sure Matthew Stafford wasn't even the quarterback of that team. Just
go with it. It sounds good. It's provocative.
Yeah,
it is helping my story.
It only sounds good. It only sounds good if it's right. But I'm pretty sure that Dan Orlovsky was actually the quarterback of that team. Rod Marinelli was the head coach. It was the 2008 season. Let me see here. Where's the roster? Final roster. Quarterback was Dante Culpepper. Dan Orlovsky was the backup. Yeah, he wasn't even on the team.
Yeah, damn it. I misread it. Either way, Super Bowl second year, not even playoff second year.
Calvin Johnson was, however, on the team.
Yeah, he was. He was still pretty young, though, wasn't he?
But Dante Culpepper was their quarterback, so...
I don't think Dante Culpepper was that bad.
Because he went to LSU. He was from quarterback U. Because apparently there's a college out there somewhere who produces great quarterbacks year in and year out.
All right, so guys, we are up against the next break. On the other side of the break, we are going to talk about Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy G. We're going to talk about those infamous Detroit Lions. And, of course, we got to change. We got to talk about the infamous OBJ and the cancer that himself. But let's go ahead and jump into the comments here a little bit here before we get into the break here. Drew says, unfortunately, I believe in Stephen A. is correct. I do as well, Drew. Drew also says he would be so he's talking about Joe Burrow here. He would be the first quarterback in NFL history to win a Heisman national championship, and a Super Bowl. That's kind of mind-boggling that no other quarterback has ever done that before.
That is a good stat.
Yeah.
Drew, I've got a question for you, though. Have you been hanging out with Buck all day? Because you're starting to sound an awful lot like him with your horrible takes tonight.
Yeah, he's actually
You've had
behind
some
the curtain.
bad takes tonight, Drew. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Buck's in your ear. Did you get Buck control of your YouTube account so he could type for you?
Yeah. Duh.
Oh, okay.
Alpha Rob says, I think Aaron Donald
Drew.
is
I
going to
love you.
destroy the Bengals offensive line. So we thought the same thing about the Chiefs here. I mean, the Titans got 9 sacks against them. The Chiefs got 0 sacks. So how bipolar the Bengals are, I mean, you could be definitely right.
Remember that 0-16 team that had a chance to win that one game, and then Dan Orlovsky stepped out of bounds in the end zone when he went to go throw a pass.
And then he kept running like, "Well, I didn't run out of bounds."
he ran for like 3 yards out of bounds, and then
what?
Still threw the ball like he wasn't out of bounds.
So Alpha Rob, let me ask you this question. So I believe the over/under for the Chiefs game was 3 sacks, right? Combs, like 3.5 sacks versus Cincinnati Bengals. Let's say that over/under is the same. Are you taking the over or the under for Aaron Donald and the Rams getting sacks on the Cleveland or the Cincinnati Browns or Cincinnati Bengals?
I think that there should be a prop bet of whether or not Aaron Donald eats Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
because I like that. God. What that front seven is going to do to that offensive line is going to be nasty. It's just going to be interesting to see what Joe Burrow can do to extend plays and extend drives. I think he can find a way. The Bengals just keep finding ways, and so we'll see. We'll see what the genius Sean McVay can come up with 2 weeks to prepare to.
All right, guys, we're up against that break. Let's head to break, and we'll be right back after this.
What's going on, Belly Up sports fans? Thanks for tuning in to the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. We have some really exciting news for several Belly Up Podcast Network shows. The Sports Stove Podcast, the Rough Cut Sportscast, and Here in Puckburg have all been nominated for a Sports Podcast Award. So, head on over to sportspodcastawards.com and make sure to vote for the Sports Stove Podcast for Best College Sports Podcast and Best News and Current Affairs Podcast. Vote for the Rough Cut Sportscast for Best American Football Podcast, and vote for Here in Puckburg for Best Winter Sports Podcast. Again, that website is sportspodcastawards.com. Thanks for being the best part of Belly Up Sports. We are what they are.
I've got an itch I can't scratch, I'm missing a piece that completes a whole part of me, an open wound scar to see. Everybody come here, gather round, welcome to the freak show, the best in town. What the hell's wrong with me? I don't get along with anybody, honestly. I've been living in my own head constantly, thoughts jumbled around, think I need a new lobotomy. Wait, all these thoughts are too negative. I don't wanna get lost in the sedative. Gotta show them what I got, I'm competitive. You know I'm about to go off, I won't let them win, I'll take a stab. I wanna chase the bag, I want a way I can change all the things I lack. I gotta face the facts, I got a taste in that. Got me obsessed with the rest, I got an itch to scratch. No way now, I'll give up everything.
The venom in my brain, running from the past, won't escape my pain. I just wanna be a better person, I deserve this, I just wanna break these chains. Always asking for greatness, true to myself, I never fake it. Seen too many once that I so they get famous. And when I say the truth, most really can't take it. In spite of everything I've been through, I'ma make it. Fake friends, but on my downfall is toxic. Day one, started the outlaws for profit. Now all I do is write verses, no talking. All I do is put the work in, no option. This was everything I ever wanted. Created a legacy off of me, just being honest. And the fake ones hate, but it's all to no avail. They wanna see me lose, but you know I never fail. I'll give up everything, daunting if I can see my dream. Cause I'll do anything, want a reality.
Nation brought to you by Brooks Roofing and Siding. Contact them at 812-868-7663 or online at brooksroofingin.com. Brooks Roofing and Siding, protection you need when nature strikes.
And welcome back to the Man Hour, guys. Michael Buckeyes alongside of Brandon BC Combs night. The boys are back in town for till Thursday, and then Combs will be back kind of on a solo basis here until probably March or so, late February, early March, and then we'll be back together at night again. And magic always happens when we are together. If you guys are enjoying this show here over at youtube.com/manhour, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and share this with a couple friends. Share this on your Twitter, share this on your Facebook, on your MySpace, on Pure Rave, or whatever social media platform you are out there, guys. Share this. Sharing is caring at the end of the day. So, Combs, before we get into the final topics of today's show here, Alpha Rob says Aaron Donald is a different type of monster. Yeah. He could have easily won the MVP this year, right?
Yeah. Look, Aaron Donald is a different animal, and that, I mean, Von Miller has elevated that defense. Is easily the steal of the trade deadline, and I like Aaron Donald. I really do. I just something about the Bengals. They're gonna find a way.
Yeah.
It's just something about him. I don't know what it is, but Aaron Donald is, and he's hungry for that ring, man. He's hungry for that ring.
Like, it is crazy that we're talking so highly about the Bengals, because I remember, 8 weeks ago when we sat here together on Man Hour and we're like, we don't know who the Bengals are. They come out and they score 45 points versus the now, hindsight's 2020, right? But they beat down the Baltimore Ravens, right? Slapped their mama and kissed her sister, and then they go out and barely beat the, I don't know, who was it? Like the Detroit Lions. So they were so up and down, and we don't know who these guys are, and now they're in the Super Bowl. Is there any way that their bipolar tendencies might come back and they might just shit the bed versus the Rams?
I mean, because anything's possible. And look, the Rams are that team that can put up 50 points on you. And if you put up 50 points on the Bengals, you're winning the football game, because the Bengals just aren't that high-powered of an offense.
I don't know. Versus the Kansas City Chiefs, Week 17, Joe Burrow threw for 456 yards, and Jamar Chase had 266 yards receiving.
I believe they still only scored 34 points. And then, I mean, that was a hell of a game by Joe Burrow.
That was in the second half only, though. I mean, they were down by, 17 points going into halftime.
I mean, but look, it could absolutely happen. Like, they could absolutely come in and just lay an egg, but I don't see it. I don't see it happening. They haven't done it all postseason long.
Yeah, I mean, only time will tell. I mean, we have 13 days, 12 days until the Super Bowl, so we have time to talk about the Pro Bowl. You want to talk about the Pro Bowl, Combs?
Nobody wants to talk about the Pro Bowl.
No, so let's go ahead and talk about the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Odell Beckham Jr., the highly anticipated cancer himself. So at the end of the game, Odell Beckham Jr. went over to Deebo Samuel and consulted him and basically said, hey, man, I know how you feel. I've had a shit cool quarterback before. No, he didn't say that, but you saw them hugging and, talking for a very, very long time. So, Combs, after you've seen Odell Beckham Jr. console Deebo Samuel at the end of that championship game, has your opinion of him changed?
No. He's still the same guy that quit on the Cleveland Browns. He's still the same guy that was throwing, got Baker Mayfield under the bus. Kind of clowning him for the commercials that he does, clowning him for making his money. And just because he wasn't getting the ball as much as he wanted to, he wasn't being used in the way that he felt like he should be used. And so for me, that just shows right there to what his character is. Now, yes, was it a good moment for him going over to Deebo Samuel? Sure. He and Deebo Samuel are most notably friends. They hang out in the off season. They train together. They do all that stuff. So it was a nice moment amongst friends. But he's still not a good teammate. He's still not one of those guys that I want in my locker room. He's still not one of those guys that I want donning my uniform. And that didn't change just because he had one good moment. I mean, I've seen Antonio Brown have some good moments too, right? I mean, so it's just one of those things where you can't pull the wool over my eyes just because you have one good gesture, right? One good gesture doesn't undo a whole career full of bad deeds.
So Drew asks a great question here in the chat here. He said, did he quit on them or did the team quit on him? I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. quit on the team. Since 2019, he's been asking for a trade, right? So, I mean, he definitely quit on them.
And not only that, but he was the one that was going out in the media talking about Baker Mayfield, admittedly talking about wanting out of there, admittedly talking about how frustrated he was with being used, and he gave up on his team. He talked his way out of Cleveland. Him and his dad. His dad should be an MVP. Right. His dad talked his way into LA. Like, so he quit on the team.
I wonder if his dad's going to get a Super Bowl ring from LA if they do win, because he's the only reason why he is there, right?
I'd give him something.
So the question is, does my perception of Odell Beckham Jr. change? Absolutely not. I talked about this earlier, and he is still a cancer. So this is his first 100-yard game that he got since 2019, Combs. So this is Odell Beckham Jr.'s first 100-yard game since 2019. He has been a cancer and a terrible teammate not getting 100 yards. Now, what happens in the Super Bowl when the Cincinnati Bengals dial up a defense and basically take him out of the game, and he gets 2 targets all game long? You were going to see him blow up on the sideline because he had one good game. He's like, hey, I'm a 100-yard receiver now. Me. Odell Beckham Jr., everything that Combs says, he is a terrible teammate. What has he... So besides consulting Deebo Samuel, which is easy to do when you win, right, Combs? We saw Patrick Mahomes sprint the 65 yards to go shake Josh Allen's hand, right? What was Patrick Mahomes doing after they lost? He was sitting there pouting on the sideline. He didn't go up and find Joe Burrow and congratulate him. He totally just blew him off, right? So when you are winning, everything is happy. Everything's hunky-dory, right? This Super Bowl, the honeymoon phase is going to be over. We are going to see the true Odell Beckham Jr. come out. He is going to start to tear this team apart, and we are going to see him going to say, oh, Sean McVay's a terrible coach. Matthew Stafford can't throw the ball 10 yards down the field, which I think he's hurt, honestly, because if you see some of those deep throws that Matthew Stafford is throwing, he doesn't have the arm strength that he did earlier in the season. So I don't know if he's hurt.
That ball that should have been intercepted.
Yeah.
To end the game and send the Niners to the Super Bowl, that was a ball that was just, grossly underthrown.
Yeah, and Matthew Stafford has better arm strength than that. There should have been no reason why that ball was underthrown like that at all.
Yeah.
So if the Rams, let me rephrase that. When the Rams lose the Super Bowl, Odell Beckham Jr. gets 2 targets and he's underthrown 3 or 4 times, or 2 catches and underthrown 3 or 4 times, the real Odell Beckham Jr. is going to come out. My perception of Odell Beckham Jr. will never change. He is an average receiver that had one great catch, and what has he done for you since? Yes, he's had a couple 1,000-yard season, whatever, right? But he has never been the guy. When he is the guy, he crumbles.
And it's like anything else, right? If you are presumed guilty, right? Like take the Barry Bonds thing, right? Barry Bonds never popped on a piss test. So he was never, there's not one thing that can link Barry Bonds to steroids other than our perceived reality, which is that the guy was using steroids. Well, our perceived reality right now is that OBJ is a bad teammate and he's just a jerk. And so you've got to prove to me that you're not that guy, that you are there. It can't just be the one gesture to Deebo Samuel. It can't just be, you've got to stick it out with the Rams. The Rams have a good squad. The Rams are going to be good for a long time. You stick it out with the Rams, finish your career with the Los Angeles Rams, and don't be a headache on your way out the door. And I'll see if maybe that changes my perception of you. But right now, my perception of is that you're a bad teammate and you're a guy I don't want in my locker room.
Yeah, so Drew says Ryan Clark would disagree with you about OBJ. Who cares what Ryan Clark says? He never played against Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, we never played against Odell Beckham Jr. either. Maybe he has a little bit more insights on them on a personal level. Off the field, Odell Beckham Jr. might be the most humblest guy ever, right? But on the field, he's a complete dick.
I respect Ryan Clark's accolades. I respect what he did on the field. But as an analyst, he is very much blinded by the color of the player skins that he's talking about. I want you to find me one video where Ryan Clark is talking about a white player the way that he defends black players when they do stuff like this, because he also defended Antonio Brown, and those actions were indefensible. So Ryan Clark just plays that role. He's a lot like Shannon Sharp, right? Where they just play that role and they're going to defend all their guys, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't. Those guys' opinions, I just don't like, because I know what your agenda is. I know what you're looking at. I know what you're doing. And that's why I respect Stephen A. When I talk about Stephen A. is because Stephen A. doesn't do that. I mean, he sort of does to a point, but at the same time, there's been a lot of times where Stephen A. called out Antonio Brown after what he did. He called out Antonio Brown for being a goof. He's called out guys like he called out Barry Bonds before. Like, he's called out guys, so he will tell it like it is. And that's why I respect guys like that. Guys like Ryan Clark, I don't respect their opinion when it comes to this stuff.
Stephen A. Smith defends people if it helps him in the end. Like, Stephen Smith is all about Stephen Smith, but I like Stephen A. Smith. But I don't want to talk about this too much. I want to talk about this comment from Hoffy. Big shout out to Hoffy, baseball lackey himself, coming into the chat here. The middle's open when Hoffy is pitching, but he says they cannot afford to keep Odell Beckham Jr. I fear if he has a decent game, a decent game, BB might be. Oh, so Bill Belichick might bring him to New England. I hope he bombs this Super Bowl.
I don't think that would be a bad thing, though, Hoffy. Look, the guy on the field is a good athlete. The guy on the field is a decent wide receiver. He's an above average wide receiver. I think it would be a good weapon for Mac Jones, and I think that he would be happy enough being the number one, because he would be their number one wide receiver if he went there. There's not another wide receiver on that team that's better than OBJ.
Right.
He would be their number one target. I think he'd be happy there, and I think he would play well there. I don't know what the Rams salary cap, ordeal is, so I don't know if they're going to be able to keep him or not. Maybe they will. Maybe they let go of a guy like Von Jefferson or something to make room for OBJ. They might do something. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it'd be a bad thing for him. Look, I say I don't want him in my locker room because of the type of teammate he is. But I think Bill Belichick, like, if you go to a team that has the right coaching staff and the right mentality, that can all change. That could be something that changes them for the better. And maybe that's what he needs.
So here are a few things that I want to say about Odell Beckham Jr. One, he has a mindset of a number one wide receiver, which is a very me diva type of mentality, right? Number two, he does not have number one receiver talent without help around him, meaning he needs a second running mate or a third running mate per se. He had that in Cleveland with Landry Jones and Nick Chubb as well, but he did not like the fact that he was second or third fiddle on that team. And truth be told, he is a second or third fiddle on any team moving forward. He is not a number one receiver. No way, no how. Even if you would take him to New England, Hunter Henry would still be the number one target, and he would not be happy. He could win all the Super Bowls he wants with LA, but if Cooper Kupp is the number one guy getting all these targets and being the guy, he is not going to be happy because he has that number one receiver mentality, and he is not a number one receiver, Combs, and that's why I dislike Odell Beckham Jr. just because when he had the opportunity to be the number one guy, what did he do? He crumbled underneath pressure, and he started to propose to kicking nets. Like, why? That is stupid. And Hoffy says, F OBJ.
I mean, look, I'm there with you. I really am. I mean, I feel like OBJ is not a good guy in your clubhouse, not a good guy. But I also feel like he hasn't been a distraction with the Rams because he's happy.
It's honeymoon stage. I feel
like he wouldn't be. I feel like he wouldn't be that in New England either because I feel like he would be the main target. The thing is, I don't think Bill Belichick would bring him to New England, Hoffy, because Bill Belichick doesn't like divas. Bill Belichick doesn't bring those guys on. The last time he brought one of those guys. Yeah, but you know what? Randy Moss was a diva who's happened to be the greatest wide receiver of all time. So playing with the greatest quarterback of all time, and they happen to go 16-0.
Well, but also on that particular time, he went to 3 teams in like a four-week span, right? He was with the Titans, or he went from the Vikings to the Titans, and the Titans to the Raiders.
I don't think that year he did. No, I think he came there as a free agent. He played, I believe it was three seasons with the Patriots,
right?
Well.
But so, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Randy Moss is the only player to play on back-to-back Monday night games on 2 different teams that played each other. So he played with the Vikings on a Monday night game, and then he went to the Titans, and the Titans played the Monday night game against the Vikings or something like that. But it's something like that. I can't remember for sure what it means. And Hoffy says Bill Belichick loves him. He always finds him after games and always speaks highly of him, meaning Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, I mean, that's all good and well. I just can't see him bringing him into his locker room, though, knowing his acumen. I mean, maybe he does. Maybe he does bring him in. Maybe Bill Belichick just has, a soft spot for OBJ, but he doesn't strike me as a Bill Belichick guy. It doesn't strike me as a guy who would, be the leader of the Patriot way, so to speak. And so I don't know if he would bring him in, but if he did, it might be a good situation for both.
So let me speak on this. So I coached against a kid that I loved on the field. I love what he did. I loved his energy. I loved his, heart and drive and like all that stuff. And then I would find him after the game and say, hey man, I love you. You are always welcome to come over to my team anytime you want. Right now, this said kid, I got an opportunity to coach last year. I transferred schools. And he was at the school that I was at, and I was like, man, this kid's gonna be awesome. I finally get a chance to coach him and coach him up and be a great player. I hated the kid, absolutely hated him. Like he was such a douchebag. That
kid's watching now. Like, oh, now I know why I didn't play.
No, he played. Only because his mom, I'm going to step back from that, but no, I'm totally kidding. But you can have great conversations with people when you are playing them and you don't see how they are in the locker room and stuff like that. But once you get them in your locker room and you know actually how they are, it's just not a good marriage. It is like when you are hanging out with the girl, she is great, right? She does this, and this. But once you're, in a relationship, everything changes, right? So she was so great.
I'm gonna tell Wyatt to make sure Blake watches this, so Blake knows how you really feel about him.
No, I absolutely love Blake. I would take Blake back in a heartbeat. But to stick on this Odell Beckham Jr. thing here, Drew says Stafford loves OBJ. It's still the honeymoon, Drew. Pump the brakes. Give it off season. Give it till. Do you guys remember when the Rams started off hot? What they were 5-0, 6-0 Combs, and then they were struggling. Yeah. They lost 3 or 4 or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Go through that.
Stafford
next
loves
season.
Cooper Kupp more.
Oh, I mean, who doesn't?
And Robert Woods will be back healthy next season.
I don't know. How
You know,
old is
so,
Robert Woods? I mean, I feel like he's been in the league
No,
for
he's
like
young.
for like a while.
No, he's right there with Cooper Kupp. I think he's actually younger than OBJ.
How old is OBJ? Like 30, maybe.
I think 29, 30.
Okay, but yeah.
So Robert Woods comes back healthy. He's at number 2, and that bumps OBJ down to number 3, and that's not going to make him happy.
Not at all. So let me ask you this: when Robert Woods does come back and Odell Beckham Jr. does bump down to number 3, is this honeymoon stage over? Does he start throwing Matthew Stafford under the bus? Does he start throwing Sean McVay under the bus and all this other crap?
I mean, he could. I mean, he'll get cut quick. I don't. Sean McVay doesn't strike me as the type of guy who's going to put up with it for very long.
I don't know. Sean McVay let Jared Goff steal his girlfriend for three or 4 months before he got traded. So I don't know, man.
Oh man, I knew you were going to go there.
Sorry. So staying on the West Coast here, the Las Vegas Raiders did hire their coach, Josh McDaniels. It has not been announced yet, so he still has time to back out like he did with the Colts a couple years ago. But does Josh McDaniel have a chance to turn this team around, although they were a playoff team this year? So when we talk about turning it around, we're talking about culture. Does he have a chance to make it a better cultural place and not swinging guns and driving drunk and killing dogs?
Yeah, I think his second time around as a head coach, I think he learned from his mistakes as the Denver head coach, and I think he came back and he was humbled, and I think that was good for him. Yeah. He's done very well in New England again. He coached up and did wonders with Mac Jones and that Patriots offense this year, and so I think that he can change the culture. I think he can bring the Patriot way, which is more like the Brady way. I think he can bring that over to Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders, and I think he can turn this team into something. I really liked this hire for the Las Vegas Raiders. I was surprised that they got it right because they usually don't. And I think that this is going to be a good run for the Raiders. I think over the next 2 or 3 years, I actually think they could be the best team in the AFC West.
So Drew says there was a press conference with Josh McDaniels. There was also a press conference with the Colts, and like an hour later, he backed out of it. So, but the one thing that I am surprised about is that let's flash back to Wild Card Weekend when the Buffalo Bills beat the living dog piss out of the Patriots. It was like 42-3 or whatever it was. They absolutely shellacked them. Bills played a perfect game, and basically everybody was calling for Josh McDaniels' head. They said, fire the guy, fire the guy, fire the guy. Wasn't Josh McDaniels pretty much the head coach in waiting for the Patriots, Combs? Like, wasn't that kind of the vibe?
Well, that's what a lot of people said. But how long are you willing to wait? You know what I mean? Like, it's like it's almost like Aaron Rodgers with Brett Favre, right? Like, how many times are you going to wait for this guy to freaking retire before you just have to move on, or before you just have to, let him move on so you can take over the starting role? Like, I feel like Josh McDaniels was just at that time, and he got the opportunity. It's a great opportunity.
Right.
Derek Carr is Matthew Stafford-esque with how underrated he is as a quarterback. He puts up numbers every year, and they've got a really good team in Las Vegas. So I think he could turn this culture around, and I think he can make this team a real threat in the AFC.
And even though every receiver that they drafted last year in the draft is now no longer on the team, so they are definitely going to need some wide receivers for help. But I want to kind of point this toward Hafi, since he is in the chat here and he is a Patriots fan. Did you Patriots fans ultimately push Josh Daniels out, and did you guys basically F yourself for the future? Because I think Bill Belichick's next year is his last year. I think he is done. I think he is tired of preparing and like all that stuff. And he's been a head coach for 30 years, right, or whatever. It's like he's been a head coach forever. So maybe it's time for him to move on. Maybe he's going to retire, and then the Patriots are going to be looking for a new head coach. And Josh McDaniels was right there for your picking, and you guys pushed them away. Do you think the Patriots fans pushed Josh McDaniels to a head coaching job, Combs?
No, I think Bill Belichick pushed him to a head coaching job because Bill Belichick's not ready to hang it up, and Josh McDaniels is ready to be a head coach in the league. And I think that, look, Patriots all fan bases do. They jump off a ledge when their team loses a big game, and they jump off a ledge when their team loses big, especially in the NFL. You only get 16 games.
17.
Okay, so when you start losing big, 17 games now. When you start losing big, especially to division rivals, especially when you need it to win a division, and then you lose in the playoffs, those fan bases jump off of ledges. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Fans are stupid. Fans are fans. They don't care. All they see is wins and losses. They don't understand the business side of things. They don't understand money. They don't understand any of it. Okay, so I don't think the fans pushed him out. I just think it was time for him to take on a gig. He got the opportunity that he was looking for, and he jumped on it. And out of all the jobs that were open, I've heard, possibilities of here and there. I think that the Raiders job was the most desirable location for him. And so I think that he landed in the right spot. I think it was the right spot for both parties. And I think that's what led to him taking this job.
Yeah, so Alpha Rob says Mac Jones is the one that pushed Josh McDaniels out. I'm not for sure how Mac Jones could be pushing somebody out when he's still a rookie. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he means. Maybe you can expand on that, Alpha Rob. Maybe you have something behind that we don't see. I don't follow the New England Patriots very closely because they make me gag every time I see them. But maybe maybe there's something to that. Maybe there is something that I don't know about between Mac Jones and Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
So let us know what you mean in the comment section, Alpha Rob.
So we did see the Raiders make the playoffs this year. They ultimately lost to the Bengals in the wild card round. Can Josh McDaniels lead the Raiders to the Super Bowl?
Yes. And I think he will in the next 3 seasons. I think that the loss. Sorry, I just saw Alpha Rob's response there, and that's a Buffalo Bills fan response. So I'm not even going to. I'm not going to acknowledge. Just like I told Drew earlier, sometimes you just want to argue just to argue. I mean, okay, but anyway, I think that they're going to be in the Super Bowl in the next 3 years. I think they're going to be the best team in the AFC West in the next 3 years. And I think that they're going to be a legit threat. I think they're going to go to a Super Bowl, and they could definitely win the Super Bowl in the next 3 seasons.
So you are telling me that Patrick Mahomes will not win another Super Bowl, and a franchise like the Raiders that historically shit the bed the last half of the season, somehow they snuck into the playoffs this year. You telling me by a coaching change and Josh McDaniels, that has already failed as a head coach, is going to lead them to the Super Bowl in 3 years? Are you out of your 11 living mind, Combs?
Yes, because of coaching. I don't see Josh McDaniels having the same limitations that Andy Reid has when it comes to clock management.
Facts.
And so I think that it's a different ball game. I think they could be the best team in the West. And look, it's going to be tough to get there. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you're going to have look, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are not going away. There you go, Alpha Rob. I said it. The Buffalo Bills are not going away anytime soon. Okay, you look at Joe Burrow and the Bengals aren't going away anytime soon. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, they're not going away for the first 8 games of a season anytime soon. And there's a lot of competition in the AFC, but I think that the Raiders are a team that is poised to take that next step, and I think Josh McDaniels can take them there.
So with that being said, Combs, do you see Derek Carr being an MVP candidate in the next 2 seasons?
Yeah. Yes, I do. A guy who's put up these numbers, and now he's going to get this coaching staff. It is something that I can definitely see happening, and I would not be surprised at all if he were to win MVP going away in the next 3 seasons because he's that good.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about Matthew Stafford being underrated, Combs. Derek Carr might be the most underrated quarterback in the NFL because he does literally improve each and every year in every offseason for whatever reason, Combs. His name has been brought up in trade rumors over and over and over again, and I don't get it. A couple years ago they brought Marcus Mariota in to basically replace him, John Gruden.
Yeah.
But yet he's like, F you, I'm going to do my thing, and the team rides around him. He just does great, and I don't understand why every year he is not an MVP candidate, because a true MVP is the most valuable player on their team, and Derek Carr is the most valuable player on that team. Look what happened the year that he broke his leg. They were complete dog shit all season long.
Yeah. And I knew you weren't just trying to argue, Drew. I see your comment out there. I know you were. I'm just busting your chops. I'm giving you grief. But yeah, no,
his Bears are going to lose again this year.
Man Hour Nation, rise up.
All right, guys, we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. I'll be on here at bellyup.tv, of course, youtube.com/man hour at 8 a.m. East Coast time, guys, right here live, doing the solo show. Be sure to jump in there, check it out, have a good time. We'll see you guys. Colm, properly send us out this time.
Man Hour Nation, rise up.